Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Russ Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our video. We just passed 690 subs. I appreciate your guys' support so much, and I hope I can continue to make great content you guys will enjoy in the future. Now, the transfer portal in college basketball, what more can you say about it? It just continues to keep on trucking along, and the Villanova Wildcats just got another big transfer portal addition. Hakim Hart has decided to transfer from the Maryland Terrapins to the Villanova Wildcats. I'm going to go over how important Hakim Hart could be for Villanova next year if he does decide to suit up for Villanova next season, and whether I think that Villanova can be a competitive basketball team in the Big East next season with Kyle Neptune at head coach. Now, Hakim Hart, he's a really good basketball player from the Maryland Terrapins. Last season for the Terps, he averaged 11.4 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, and 2.6 assists. He's a really solid basketball player overall. He's a 6'8", 205-pound forward, so he has pretty good size. He's a really good catch and shoot player, especially in the corner, so he is deadly from the three-point line on the wing. He does not really create his own shot very well. He's more of a guy that has to have a guy give it to him, but I do think that Villanova potentially has the players on the roster to be able to get that done. But there are some question marks with Hakim Hart overall because he's still in the NBA draft. He has not taken his name out of the NBA draft, so he could go pro and not even play for Villanova, but the fact that he did already announce that he's transferring to Villanova would suggest that he will spurn the NBA for one more season and use his last year of eligibility to play in college basketball. But this is a big addition for Villanova because he chose the Wildcats over the Kansas Jayhawks, the Gonzaga Bulldogs, and the Miami Hurricanes. Those are three programs that are in great shape in college basketball right now. Obviously, Kansas is a blue blood. Gonzaga's had so much success under Mark Few, and Miami's doing great things in college basketball the last couple of years, especially in NIL. So I do think that Villanova being able to land Hakim Hart is huge overall. It's a great look for the program. He is from Philadelphia, so he's going back home if he does decide to play for Villanova, which he more than likely will. So the fact that he is going back to his hometown definitely played a part in this transfer portal addition for Villanova, but still nonetheless, it is a big addition. Hakim Hart, he also shot 47.9% from the field, 33.3% from the three-point line, and 80.4% from the free throw line, so he's a good free throw shooter. Again, he definitely is a deadly corner shooter, but he's not a guy that can shoot the three ball at a high level on his own, so that's why his three-point field goal percentage is a bit lower than a guy that you would think of as a great three-point shooter, but he definitely can shoot the ball when he is open, and teams in the Big Ten definitely got a taste of what Hakim Hart can bring when he's open in the corner shooting a lot of threes, but when teams were able to key in on him and made him force shots up and have to take the ball off the dribble, he does struggle a bit, but he is a player that can get downhill at times, and he can posterize the rim and get some big dunks in, but he is a player that is a bit weak overall in trying to create on his own. He can do it, but he's a really good three-point shooter when open, but he does struggle to create shots on his own. But I think this is a big addition nonetheless for Villanova because of the fact Villanova needs players. Overall, once Jay Wright decided to retire, Villanova's been in some murky waters the last couple years, and no one really knows where Villanova is heading from here. Kyle Neptune, the new Villanova head coach, he did a solid job last season, but Villanova was 17-17. They did not have a great year overall. They made the NIT, but they missed the NCAA tournament, and they did not play some high-level basketball for the most part last season. But Justin Moore, he was coming off of an injury, and he missed half the season last year, and he will be back for Villanova, so that's a huge re-addition for Villanova. His last season of eligibility, he is using Eric Dixon is back as well, and Eric Dixon was the only forward/center that Villanova really had that had experience coming back for Villanova this year, and now you're getting Hakim Hart as well to be able to slide into that forward position. So Villanova definitely needs more additions in the front court. Maybe if you have Kyle Neptune being able to potentially bring in a couple more veteran transfer portal forwards or centers to be able to have more depth for Villanova, that could be huge overall because Villanova is weak in the front court. They do have some guard depth. You do have Chris Arcidiacono coming back, the brother of Ron Arcidiacono. He's a really good depth piece at guard for Villanova. Mark Armstrong is back. He's a player that has a lot of potential to have success next season for the Wildcats. He is a player that definitely has not broken out yet, but he has a lot of potential. Cam Whitmore, he is gone to the NBA draft. That is tough, and he was a forward at that 4 spot, and he missed some time with a thumb injury, and again, that could have contributed to why Villanova did not have a lot of success last year. If Justin Moore and Cam Whitmore had played all season, there's a great chance Villanova is a NCAA tournament team last season. So I think that Villanova's trajectory was pointing in the right direction. If you do look at Villanova's season last year, once they got their entire roster back healthy, they were playing some great basketball down the stretch of the basketball basketball season last year, and I think it could carry over to this year with the roster that you do have Kyle Neptune being able to assemble this season. You are losing Caleb Daniels and Brandon Slater. They're both out of eligibility. They were both solid basketball players for Villanova last season, but they are definitely replaceable, I think, overall, especially with the fact that Villanova has already added a transfer portal guard in TJ Bamba, a 6'5", 215-pound guard from the Washington State Cougars. He's a really good basketball player, and I'm trying to contemplate whether Hakim Hart or TJ Bamba is a bigger addition because they both fill needs that Villanova desperately needed. But TJ Bamba, he is an athletic player. He's a good basketball player overall. I think he's a guy that definitely had a chance to go to the NBA draft this season, just like Hakim Hart does, who's testing the NBA water still. But TJ Bamba averaged 16 points per game, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists at Washington State last year. And yes, Washington State was not the best basketball team in the world last year, but he was a really solid player. He shoots the basketball even better than Hakim Hart at 37%, and I think he's a guy that definitely can create his three-point shot better than Hakim Hart can. So maybe that will be able to take more of the attention off of Hakim Hart and be able to have Hakim Hart shoot a higher percentage from 3 next year, with more attention being put on TJ Bamba and some of the other players like Justin Moore as well that Villanova has on their roster. But I'm looking at Villanova's roster. Is Villanova's roster at the top of the Big East for next season in college basketball? I don't think they're nowhere near that point. Xavier, Providence, UConn, Marquette, and all these other teams in the Big East look really good for next season. St. John's as well is doing some nice things with Rick Pitino. Ed Cooley at Georgetown's lurking around. There's some really good coaches and players that are committing to the Big East Conference overall and all these basketball teams. But I think that Kyle Neptune is doing an underrated job with the Villanova Wildcats. They only have one high school recruit coming in Jordan Dumont. He's an unranked player out of high school, but I think he has a lot of upside as well as a 6'8" forward. I'm looking at Villanova's roster. There is definitely some pieces coming together. They don't have the best high school recruiting class with only one guy coming in, but he has potential in Jordan Dumont. And looking at TJ Bamba and Hakim Hart, these are two of the better transfer portal players that any college basketball program could get. Both TJ Bamba and Hakim Hart were being recruited by a lot of programs in college basketball to come play for their team, and Hakim Hart and TJ Bamba both decided to play for Villanova. Now, Hakim Hart is still in the NBA draft, so he's going to have to take his name out of the draft for this to really matter for Villanova, but I think he definitely will at the end of the day. I don't think he'll stay in the NBA draft, but looking at Villanova's roster, Eric Dixon's back. He's a really good center for Villanova. Justin Moore's back at guard. He's really solid. Hakim Hart is potentially coming in. TJ Bamba's coming out. I really like what Kyle Neptune is doing with the Villanova Wildcats. I don't know if Villanova is going to be getting back to Jay Wright level good anytime soon, being able to potentially get back to national title games and winning national titles, but I think Kyle Neptune has Villanova going in the right direction. If he can really put together a good basketball team next season and have a healthy roster overall, and they can make the tournament next year, I think Villanova is trending in the right direction, and I think that Villanova could have a good season in the Big East next year, potentially in the top half of the conference in that rugged Big East next year. Kyle Neptune's doing a great job in recruiting, but he's definitely going to have to put a roster together that meshes well on the floor and be able to have a lot of success. It's one thing to recruit in the portal in high school, but it's a different thing to actually have a successful team out there on the floor. But I do think that TJ Bamba is a huge addition at guard for Villanova. He could have a lot of success for Villanova next year if he plays at a high level just like he did at Washington State. But I think Hakim Hart could be a massive addition for Villanova overall because of the fact he's a forward that Villanova desperately needed at that 4 spot since Cam Whitmore's gone to the NBA draft. And if Hakim Hart improves on what he did at Maryland this past season, being back in his hometown now, that could potentially help him play at an even higher level if he can shoot really well from the 3 in the corner and be able to do some other solid things for Villanova this next season, especially on the defensive side of the ball as well, where he was solid in the Big Ten last season. It's a tough loss for the Maryland Terrapins and Kevin Willard, the head coach for the Terps, but this is a great addition for the Villanova Wildcats. This is a nice pickup for Kyle Neptune and the Villanova Wildcats to get Hakim Hart, and I think that Hakim Hart could potentially help Villanova have a better season in college basketball next season. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you think about Hakim Hart transferring to the Villanova Wildcats from the Maryland Terrapins, and whether you think he will end up staying out of the NBA draft and coming back to Villanova, and whether you think TJ Bamba and Hakim Hart will both help Villanova be a better basketball team next year, and how good of a job you think Kyle Neptune's doing overall at head coach for Villanova. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I'll see you next time.